The broken armor, asterisk. The hangar smelled like hot metal and oil, just the way Leo liked it. He was the only human on the starbase, and that was just how he preferred things. Aliens didn't talk much to him, and he was fine being left alone. With tools, machines, and silence. But that silence ended the moment she entered. The heavy door slid open, hissing as a tall figure stepped inside. Her armor was dented, cracked, and missing an entire arm plate. She stood proud, like nothing could touch her. But her eyes held something else. Rage, maybe. Or exhaustion. Leo wiped his hands on a cloth and straightened up. "Can I help you?" he asked, expecting her to ignore him like most of her kind did. Instead, she stepped forward. Her voice was deep and steady. "You're the human mechanic? Last time I checked." He tried to keep his tone casual, but her presence was heavy, commanding. Her armor, scratched with dozens of battle marks, looked like it had seen too many wars. She dropped a large chunk of damaged armor on his table with a loud clang. "Fix it." Leo raised a brow. "What happened to it?" "A blade from a scarn." "Fighter. Cut through like it was paper." She glanced down at her side, where a long scar disappeared under her armor. "I need it operational before the next drop." He didn't ask more. He had learned quickly alien warriors didn't share stories, especially not with humans. Leo examined the armor. It was advanced, built from materials Earth had only recently begun to study. But it was clear where the failure was a cracked energy conduit and a fractured plating layer. Not hard to repair, just time-consuming. He looked up. "Give me 6 hours." Her expression didn't change. "You have 3. And with that, she turned and walked away, each step of her boots echoing across the metal floor. Leo watched her leave, then sighed. Of course. He got to work. As he began fixing the armor, he noticed things others might have missed. Small burn marks inside the suit, signs of overheating. Tiny stress fractures near the joints, likely from overuse. And traces of dried blood in areas where none should be. This wasn't just a warrior who fought hard. This was someone pushing past their limits. Leo worked in silence. Machines didn't complain, didn't judge. But as he adjusted the internal seals, he found something strange, a small necklace wedged inside one of the armor's hollow shoulder plates. It looked handmade, old, carefully wrapped in a cloth. He didn't touch it, but for the first time, he realized this warrior wasn't just a soldier. She was someone with memories, with secrets. 3 hours passed fast. Just as he tightened the last bolt, the doors hissed open again. She walked back in, her face still unreadable. Leo handed her the armor, fixed the conduit, replaced the plating, and reinforced the joints. "It'll hold better now." She examined the armor with sharp eyes, then nodded. "You also fixed the stabilizers near the core," she said quietly. "Even though I didn't ask." "You were overheating," he replied. "It was going to fail next time." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said something he didn't expect. "Thank you, human." "Leo," he said. She hesitated, then replied, "I'm Myra." It was the first time anyone on the base had shared a name with him in months. Leo smiled. Slightly. "Armor's not the only thing broken, you know. You could have come in sooner." She didn't smile, but there was a shift in her eyes. "Next time, maybe." As she turned to leave, Leo called out, "Hey, left something in the shoulder compartment." She paused, then looked back at him. For the first time, there was something different in her face. Softness. Without another word. She walked out, armor in hand. Leo leaned back against the table. He had fixed dozens of machines, thousands of components. But today felt different. Today, he might have fixed something else too. Something not made of steel. Asterisk. The warrior who stayed Leo didn't expect to see Myra again so soon. Usually, warriors only came to him when something was broken. That was the job he fixed. They left. But just 2 days later, she returned. Not with damaged armor this time, but standing there quietly, holding a sealed container. "I thought you might need food," she said. Leo blinked. "I have rations. This tastes better than paste," she replied, placing the container on the table. He opened it after she left. The food was warm, flavored, carefully packed. Not human, but not bad. He ate in silence, thinking about her. The next morning, she came. Again. I ran a scan on the new plating. "It's holding well. You reinforced it smarter than our techs." Leo looked up from the power unit he was welding. "I just did what made sense." She didn't leave that time. Instead, she stood nearby and watched as he worked. Her eyes studied. Every move, every adjustment. "You enjoy fixing things?" she asked. Leo paused. "Machines make sense. They don't lie. If they break, you know why. People, they're harder." Mira nodded slowly. "Yes, people are harder." He didn't push for more. But she kept showing up. Sometimes just for a question, other times with damaged gear. Once, she even brought a small device and asked if he could upgrade its targeting system. She could have gone to any alien engineer on the station, but she chose him. And slowly, the silence between them became something else. Comfortable. One evening, while Leo was adjusting a grav hammer, she sat nearby with her helmet in her lap. "You fixed more than my armor," she said softly. Leo glanced over. "What do you mean?" She looked straight at him. "I've fought for 9 years. Never stopped. One mission after another. My body is strong. My will is trained. But after a while, something inside begins to crack." Leo put the hammer down. "You burn out," she nodded. "I didn't even realize how empty I felt until I met someone who saw me. Not just a weapon, but someone who noticed." Leo didn't know what to say, so he just listened. "There's no one like you back home," she added. "Human mechanics, human kindness. It's rare in the places I've been." He smiled. "Maybe you need better places." She didn't smile back, but her voice softened. "Maybe I do." They sat in silence again, only now the silence felt warmer. A week passed. They spent more time together, not as soldier and mechanic, but as something else. Leo taught her a few tricks about adjusting old Earth tools. Mira showed him how her species trained with weighted gear to survive heavy gravity planets. And once, when she laughed at one of his sarcastic comments, Leo nearly dropped a wrench. It was the first time he'd seen her laugh. It was rare and quick, but real. Then came the call. Mira was being deployed again. She arrived at his workshop just after receiving the orders. "I leave in 2 days," she said. "Another front. High risk." Leo tried to act normal, nodding while working on a cracked energy coil. "Will you come back?" he asked quietly. She didn't answer right away. "I don't know," she admitted. "But if I do, I'd want to return here." He looked at her. "To the hangar?" She shook her head. "To you." His heart skipped for a second. Myra stepped closer. "I was taught never to need anyone, but I think I need this, you, even just your presence." Leo looked down at the armor piece in his hands. "I fix things, but I never thought I'd be what someone needs." She gently placed her hand on his. "You already are." And just like that, without saying another word, she turned and walked away. Leo sat there long after she left, staring at the empty space where she had stood. A message from the front. Days passed. Leo kept himself busy in the hangar. There was always something to fix damaged drones, overheating suits, cracked grav stabilizers. But even with his hands full, his mind kept wandering. He hadn't heard anything since. Mira left. The station's news feeds didn't share much, just updates about growing conflict near the outer colonies. Skarn raiders, planetary blockades, missing fleets. Every time the alert siren sounded, Leo froze for a second, hoping it wasn't about her unit. It was strange. He had known her for just a few weeks, but in that short time, she had filled a space. Inside him he hadn't even realized was empty. Then, on the 5th day, a message came through. It was short. Just a data packet addressed to Leo, Human Mechanic, Bay 9. He opened it. The screen flickered to life. Myra appeared. Her face was dirt-streaked, and the background behind her was filled with smoke and chaos. Still, her voice was calm. Leo, I made it through the first assault. Your upgrades held. Took more hits than expected, but the suit held up better than even our command predicted. She paused. I don't know if this message will reach you. We're deep inside enemy lines. But if it does, thank you. Not just for fixing my armor, but for reminding me I'm more than a soldier. She looked straight at the camera. If I don't make it back, just know that someone out here was changed by you. Then the screen went dark. Leo sat still. Heart pounding. She was alive. For now. But it could change at any moment. That night, he didn't sleep. He kept thinking about her voice, her words, and how tired she looked. How many battles was she fighting? Not just with weapons, but inside her own heart. He replayed the message 3 times. Each time, he focused on her face, her eyes, the way she had paused before saying, if I don't make it back. He hated that line. He wanted to believe she would return, that he'd hear her boots echo through the hangar again, that she'd stand by his table with that serious look on her face, then break it with one small smile. The next morning, he did something he hadn't done in years. He made something personal. Asterisk. Leo worked all day on a small handheld object. A charm, simple in design, half made of polished metal from her damaged armor, half from his old earth tools. It wasn't military grade. It had no weapons. But it was solid, and it meant something. When it was done, he placed it in a small sealed case. Then he attached a note. For Myra, if you come back, I'll be waiting. If you don't, then at least something I made will stay with you. Leo, he handed the case to a supply pilot, flying toward Myra's front. The man raised an eyebrow. This for a soldier? Leo nodded. A friend. She'll know what it means. The pilot didn't ask more. He took the case and flew off. For the next 2 weeks, silence. No messages. No reports. Leo started avoiding the hangar when he could. The tools felt heavier, the lights too bright. Even the humming of the machines seemed louder, more hollow. He didn't want to admit it, but he missed her. Really missed her. Then, one evening, as he was closing up, a voice came from behind. You're not very good at waiting, are you? He turned, and there she was. Mira. Her armor was scratched, dusty, but still whole. A long cut marked her cheek, but her eyes were alive. She held up the small charm in her gloved hand. I got it, she said softly. And I came back. Leo didn't say anything at first. He just walked up, stood in front of her, and took a deep breath. You made it. She nodded. You didn't give up on me. I couldn't, he replied. Not after everything. Myra stepped closer. For once, there was no armor between them. Just 2 people standing in the middle of machines and quiet. And then, without a word, she leaned in. Their foreheads touched. Just a moment of silence between souls who had found something rare in the middle of war. Not just survival, but connection. Asterisk. When steel breaks. Stay. Asterisk. The hangar lights flickered above them as Myra slowly pulled back. Leo couldn't believe it, She was really there. The soldier who had once walked in like a silent storm now stood in front of him with soft eyes and a calm voice. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice a little rough. "I've had better days," Myra said, glancing down at her cracked chest. "Plate, but I'm breathing, thanks to you." He motioned toward the bench. "Come on. Let's take a look at the damage." She followed him, sitting quietly as Leo examined the armor. "You took some bad hits," he muttered. "One more strike here." He tapped near her side. "And this would have been a very different message." She smirked. "You say that? Like I didn't already know." Leo stopped working for a moment and looked at her face. "Why did you come back?" "Really?" Myra didn't answer right away. Her fingers gently traced the charm he had made, now hanging from a small chain around her wrist. "Because you fixed more than my gear," she said. "You reminded me that I'm still a person, that I matter outside the war." Leo swallowed. Hard. No one had ever said anything like that to him. Not even another human. She looked around the hangar. "This place, it became something else to me. A safe space. A reason to come back alive." He chuckled. "I thought it was the food. Container you brought me that started all this." Mira raised an eyebrow. "That food was a peace offering." "Well," Leo said, returning to work, truce accepted. Over the next few days, things settled into something that felt almost normal. Myra stayed at the base for medical checks and armor upgrades. She didn't return to the front immediately. Instead, she spent more time with Leo. They worked side by side, her repairing damaged helmets, him welding new joints. At night, they sometimes sat outside the hangar, watching transport ships leave, sharing quiet stories. Mira spoke of battlefields and fallen comrades. Leo spoke of earth-green forests, wild storms, old Earth music, and quiet nights under stars. "I'd like to see Earth one day," she said one evening. "You'd like the forests," Leo replied. "Quiet, peaceful, nothing tries to stab." "You there usually?" She smiled, resting her head back against the wall. "You think someone like me could belong there?" He looked at her sharp features, her hardened eyes, the scar along her jaw, and nodded. "You belong anywhere you want to." That made her fall silent. But in that silence, something bloomed. Something real. Then one morning, the peace broke. Red alert rang through the base. A message flashed across the screens. "Skarn fleet incoming. Too close." Too many. Myra was on her feet in seconds. "I have to suit up," she said. Leo grabbed her wrist. "You're still healing." She shook her head. "They're not giving us time. The base needs defenders." Leo knew he couldn't stop her, but he also knew this time might be different. The warning didn't sound like the others. The entire station was on edge. He worked fast, helping her into the repaired armor. Reinforced, polished, ready. When she locked in the last piece, Leo stepped closer. "I have something for you," he said, handing her a small chip. "It's a recorded message, just in case." Mira took it carefully, then looked up at him. "I don't want to hear that word." Again, "In case" sounds like goodbye. Leo nodded. "Then promise me it won't be." She held his gaze for a moment. Then she leaned in, and this time it wasn't just her foreheads that touched. Her lips pressed against his. Gentle, quick, but full of everything unsaid. When she pulled back, her voice was firm. "I'll come back." "I'll wait," Leo whispered. Then she turned and walked out of the hangar, her armor glowing in the low light, the charm still swinging from her wrist. And Leo stood there, watching her go, his heart full of fear and hope. The fire and the storm. Outside the station, space was no longer silent. The Skarn fleet had arrived without warning. Over 100 warships surrounded the outer ring. Defense drones scrambled into position, and alarms blared through. Every corridor of the station dot inside the control tower, commanders shouted orders. Fighters launched, cannons charged, and power grids flickered as the station braced for the worst dot in the middle of it all. Myra stood like a shadow among the fire. Her unit had been placed on the front defense deck. She was one of the few still, strong enough to fight in heavy armor. The rest were recovering, dead or still rushing to load weapons. Target systems online. A voice crackled in her helmet. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she touched the charm on her wrist. Leo. He was still down in the hangar, still waiting, still watching. I'm going out first, she told her squad. Keep your shields tight and follow my lead. Before anyone could object, she jumped her. Armor thrusters flaring to life, launching her out of the airlock and into the chaos. Back in the hangar, Leo had sealed the doors. But even from there, he could hear the rumble of distant blasts. The vibrations shook the floor. Tools fell off shelves. He kept refreshing the station's status screen, tracking suit IDs and live signals. Myra's was there glowing green. Still moving. Still alive. Every few seconds it blinked red. She was in deep combat. He gripped the edge of the bench, eyes never leaving the screen. You better make it back, he whispered. Outside, the battle turned brutal. Skarn ships released. Swarms of heat-seeking drones. Defense cannons from the station returned fire, carving through waves of attackers. Explosions painted the black sky in fire, and smoke. Mira darted through it all like a comet, quick, sharp, and fearless. A Skarn fighter locked onto her. She twisted. In midair, launched a plasma blade through its cockpit and kicked away as it exploded behind her. Where's the breach? She shouted through the comms. Sector 4. We're losing shielding. She turned sharply and flew toward the failing sector. But before she reached it, a blast slammed into her side. Her armor crackled. Her HUD flickered. Inside her helmet. Warning screamed. Right arm offline. Power core at 32%. She gritted her teeth. I'm not going down, she growled. Leo saw the signal spike. Myra's status dropped from green to flashing orange. Injured. Armor failing. He couldn't sit anymore. He grabbed his toolkit, strapped on a portable repair unit, and ran toward the nearest access shaft that led to Sector 4. Leo! That's restricted. A guard yelled. I don't care. He shouted back. She's out there. He reached the outer service bay, where the launch tubes opened toward the battle zone. Inside, he found a manual control pod, a technician pod, not built for combat. Just shields and boosters. Barely any armor, but it was enough to get out there. He didn't. Think twice. Myra dropped behind a floating piece of debris, gasping inside her helmet. The Skarn ship had clipped her hard. Her right arm wouldn't move, and the cooling systems had failed. She checked her systems again. 10 minutes left before core shutdown. She closed her eyes. Then her cum cracked open. Hey, metalhead. Her heart skipped. Leo, you really need to stop breaking the stuff I fix. She turned her head. Through the dust and chaos, a technician pod floated toward her, awkward but steady. Inside Leo's face, focused, scared, but determined. What are you doing out here? She shouted. Helping, he replied. You'll die. He docked the pod near her suit, locked his repair tools into the connection slot, and ignored the fire outside. I'd die anyway if you didn't come back. She looked at him through her cracked visor, and for a second, the war disappeared. Just him. Just her. Together. He patched into her damaged systems. The power stabilized. Cooling. Restarted. Arm function returned. You're good, he said. Now finish this. Myra stood up. Stronger. With Leo watching. With his work inside her armor, she charged into the flames again. This time, not alone. The return through fire, with her armor restored and Leo's voice still echoing in her ears. Mira rose like a force reborn. She launched herself from the debris field with fury in her eyes and precision in her movements. The scarring drones turned toward her again, but this time they weren't facing the same soldier. She was faster now, sharper, more alive. Every blast that came her way was dodged. Every enemy that got too close was torn down. She moved like a storm, and behind every move, she knew Leo was watching. Inside the technician pod, Leo monitored her suit vitals. The armor was holding, temperature stable, shield layer 64%. He had done all he could from here, but the pod was shaking. Skarn drones noticed him small, weak and easy prey. Of course, he muttered, gripping the flight controls. The pod had no weapons. All it had was shielding and a short-range boost. One drone swooped in. Laser-locked. Leo yanked the control lever hard to the right. The pod spun, barely missing the hit. Sparks flew from the outer hull. "Anytime you want to cover me, Mira," he said through clenched teeth. Myra heard him. "I see you." Then, boom, a bolt of light burst across the stars. Mira had fired her energy cannon mid-flight, slicing through the Skarn drone like paper. It exploded into flames. Leo blinked. "Nice shot. You owe me another food container." "Deal." Down below, the station defenses began to push forward. Reinforcements arrived from a nearby colony fleet. The tide of battle shifted, but there was still one problem. The main Skarn warship had reached orbit, and it was preparing a core cannon, something strong, enough to break through the station's lower decks. Mira stared at the targeting data. "We need to disable that cannon," she said. Command responded. "Too far. None of our ships can get in close enough." "I'll do it." "Myra, that's suicide." "I'm not doing it alone," she said. "Leo, how's that pod of yours?" Leo looked around at the broken panels and blinking red lights. "It's held together with chewing gum and hope." "Good," Myra replied. "You'll ride with me." "What?" "I'll carry the pod. You guide the charge. Together we might make it." Leo stared at the screen. "You're insane. You fixed me. Now I'm fixing this." He grinned. "All right, warrior. Let's fly." Mira grabbed the pod mid-flight with one arm, locking it to her armor. Then, with both thrusters at max, she shot toward the warship. Alarms rang in both systems. The cannon on the enemy vessel began to power up, glowing red-hot. "ETA 15 seconds, Leo shouted. "Targeting array needs to hit the left power coupling." "It's the weak spot." Myra flew faster. Debris smashed past them. Heat flared. But she didn't slow down. 10 seconds. 5. Then dash. She launched the pod. Leo activated its small booster and aimed for the coupling. Myra, right behind it, fired her energy core straight into the path of the cannon's open vent. The explosion was massive. Flames burst from the side of the Skarn warship. The cannon split in half, and the entire weapon system collapsed into itself. The ship began to retreat, smoke trailing behind it. Cheers erupted across the station. Back inside the hangar, hours later, everything was quiet again. The tech pod was a wreck. Myra's armor was scorched, her helmet cracked, and Leo's shirt was burned at the shoulder. But they were both breathing. They sat on the floor, back against the wall, tired but alive. "You're insane," Leo repeated. "You already said that. And you're incredible." "I know." They shared a tired laugh. Myra looked at him, brushing a streak of oil from his face. "You saved me again." Leo smiled. "You saved me first." For a long moment, they just looked at each other. The war was over, at least for now. And something else had begun. Something deeper than battle. Stronger than steel. Asterisk. Not just a mechanic. Asterisk. The repairs took weeks. The station had suffered heavy damage. Cracked outer decks, fried shield generators, and broken defense cannons lined the repair logs. Leo worked from sunrise to deep into the night, fixing everything he could. But this time, he wasn't working alone. Mira stayed, not as a soldier, waiting for orders, but as someone who had found something new. Something worth staying for. They worked side by side in the hangar, where it all began. Leo handed her a plasma torch. Still holding it upside down, he said with a grin. I like it this way. Mira replied with a shrug. Yeah, and next time the torch ignites your glove again, don't come crying to me. She gave him a look mock serious and then smiled. The smile was still rare, but no longer hidden. With him, she had stopped pretending to be just a weapon. She was still a warrior, but now she was more. One evening, as the last repair drone flew back into its dock, Mira stood on the platform, looking out at the stars. Leo joined her, wiping his hands with an old cloth. It's quiet again, she said softly. For now, Leo nodded. Something tells me peace never lasts in this galaxy. Myra turned toward him. That's why you hold on to people who make the fight worth it. He looked at her for a long time. You ever think about not fighting anymore? She hesitated. I was made for war, trained from childhood. Fighting is in my blood. But? He asked gently. But maybe, she said, her voice lower now, I could learn something else, something quieter. Leo stepped closer. You already started learning. She tilted her head. From you? Of course, he smirked. I taught you how to not set yourself on fire while holding a wrench. She laughed this time, truly. Maybe one day, she said, I'll fix something for you. Leo tapped the charm still hanging on her wrist. You already did. News of the battle spread fast across nearby sectors. Whispers of how an alien, warrior and a human mechanic took down a Skarn cannon reached even the higher councils. For once, it wasn't just warriors who were seen as heroes. It was builders. Fixers. People like Leo. One day, a message arrived from Earth. An offer. Come home. We need you, not just as a mechanic, but as an advisor. As someone who proved that peace and strength can work together. Leo stared at the message for a long time. Mira stood beside him. Are you going to accept it? I don't know, he admitted. I like it here, and I like you here. She nodded. And maybe Earth will wait, or maybe we both go. One day. He looked at her. One day. For now, they stayed, not because they had to, but because they chose to. They made a home inside the hangar, between metal benches, sparks, and quiet. Laughs, they created a world of their own. Leo, the human who fixed armor. Mira, the warrior who learned how to heal a heart. One night, as they stood under the stars once more, she leaned against his shoulder and whispered, You're not just a mechanic. He turned toward her, and you're not just a soldier. They didn't need to say anything more. Their story had already spoken for them, louder than any war. The end.